been fifth. Clayts?
I am going to go for Kylian Mbappe.
Clayts is second after a bit of a jittery start. He's managed to right the ship 6 points. But yes, Clayts is confirmed as the league winner.
Ready? What are we? We're just buddies in just time waste. Or... Oh, yes! I didn't even know the keeper was up. What's happening? Yeah! Chat, we did it. We're in a final.
Clayts. We should share this one.
Yeah, no. GG's. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Clayts. This is Clayts FM, and today we've got another video all about the FM Streamer Showdown. Now, the Streamer Showdown is a competition that I took part in this past weekend, and actually I made a video about this last Saturday, which is going to be above me now in a card. So if you want to check out that video, I go through how the competition works, the format, who's taking part, the rules that we had to abide by, all of that type of stuff. So if you've not watched that video, I probably suggest go and watch that one now. And then today's video is going to be an update from me about how it all went. Did we win? We didn't win. But actually, we actually did really well in lots of other different ways. So I'm going to talk you through how the squad performed, the tactics that we put in place, and actually what the plan was, which I talked about in that last video, and actually how we implemented that plan and how it all almost came together. To be taken away from us right at the end in probably the most unlucky circumstances you could ask for or not ask for. So yeah, that's what today's video is going to be. Let's jump into the save file that we were all playing on over the course of the weekend. It was some weekend. The drama was brilliant. This is the best competition for Football Manager that exists out there. And if you didn't manage to catch it this time, the next one's at the end of February, and just make sure you watch it. I don't know who's in it yet, but make sure you watch it. Anyway, let's jump into that save file. All right then, so here we are inside the save file. So this is after the final was played, and we can take our time to just have a little look back, look through the different squads, look at how everybody performed, look at the league, look at the schedule, look at some of the really interesting stats that have come out of this, and we can kind of look at what our plan was, how we implemented it, and how ultimately it failed, but we gave it a really, really good crack. And you can see here, first thing you will see from this page here is that there's the league table, and we're right at the top of it. Yeah, we won the league, so I mean, that's pretty good, right? We ended up on 16 points from our league campaign, winning the league. And I'll just say it now. I mean that most people will know it by now. We ended up losing in the final. We lost to Lalujo in the final. Lalujo, Kevy 5 times, as we now have to officially call him, I do believe. Yeah, he's won it 5 times out of, is it 9 seasons? Something like that. Yeah, it's a pretty good record from him. And he proved to be really tough to beat this time. We actually played him 3 times over the course of this competition and drew every single time. That's how difficult he was to beat. And in the end, he rose victorious from the whole competition. We did win the league section though, which is now the second time in a row that we've won the league but not been able to turn it into a victory on the Sunday in the knockout competition. So let's have a look at the schedule then. So we'll have a look at the result and we'll talk through each game and how things developed over the course of the competition. So we kicked off against Tom FM. So Tom, he had a pretty good run this time. Before the tournament started, everybody was saying, Tom, you've got a really old defence. He had the likes of Chiellini at the back. And everyone was saying, I don't know how you expect to win with this really old defence. He had a decent competition. We actually ended up losing the very first game here, 2-1. Now, I had an XG of 3.7 in this game. Tom had an XG of about 1.6 or something. Whatever it was less than us. And yeah, we ended up losing the game. A little bit unluckily, but not to worry. We bounced back. We bounced back with a 5-2 win over Dr. Benji. Victor Osimhen scored a hat-trick in this game. He was brilliant. Our top goal scorer over the course of the whole competition. He was excellent. Ben really didn't have an answer for us. We played great in this game. A 5-2 win. Zagadou and Varane also getting goals. Set pieces OP. Long throws OP. I mean, that was one of the things we talked about in that other video we made. We brought in really tall players with great jumping reach and fast players. We had a fast player score a hat-trick and then 2 really tall players score goals from set pieces. The plan was working at this stage, and we'll look at the tactic and everything in a little second as well. But let's talk through the results first of all, because following this Ben win, we ended up beating Matt SYC, second yellow card, 5-0. A similar story. Tapsoba scored twice. They must have both been set pieces. And Varane also scored another goal. Kylian Mbappe came to the party though with his 2 goals in this game, a 5-0 win. Suddenly, We're up to 6 points here. We're looking a lot better, having lost our first game. We then run into Mr. Zealand Shannon, and now this was a really close game. It doesn't look like it because it was 5-2. Jamie Vardy scored a hat-trick. At least 2 or 3 of these goals were gifted to Z by us making mistakes, and actually that came back. If you look later in the competition, we had like the similar story, but the other way around, where he gifted us loads of goals. But in this game here, we actually fell to a 5-2 defeat. It was our worst performance of the whole competition, and we needed to put it behind us pretty quickly, because if we wanted to win this league, or if we wanted to finish high up in this league, which is probably the aim at this stage, we're going to need to get some results in our next games. And we did do that. We beat Jack Work the Space 3-0 in the next game. Osimhen, Tapsoba, Mbappe. Again, Tapsoba with another goal. He's a centre-back. He's, well, we'll look at him right now. He is 6'4" and pretty quick. That's why we drafted him. He's got a jumping reach of 16. He was playing our right-sided centre-back in a back 3. He was brilliant. We then ran into Kevy 5 times, as he later became known in the competition. Kev scored 2 goals here. We scored 2 goals here. It was really, really even. He would score, we would score, we would score, he would score. It was just back and forth. 2-2 there. We were both pretty happy with that in the league, actually. We knew that actually get some points on the board. If as long as you're safe and you don't end up in that elimination game, you're fine. A draw we were both pretty happy with. We then played Foxy. Foxy played strikerless during this this tournament, and actually he's made a video all about his strategy and his tactics with all the stats and everything. Really interesting watch. I suggest you go and watch that one too. However, we beat him 2-0, and I'm pretty sure that Foxy only had 1 shot on target in this. We were completely dominant, and it was a bit of a breeze, really. We did score twice from set pieces, so maybe that's why it was a breeze, because we didn't need to do too much. I think we had 25 corners in this game, though, so I think that kind of sums it up. His strikerless and our tactic that we played, our shape, was actually very similar. If we take some of our strikers back and play them in the attacking midfield positions, it's a very similar sort of shape and system that we played. In the end here, though, we did run out winners, and that put us into a position where we knew if we won our last game, which was against Chesnoid here, you can see, and Tom FM did not win his last game, we would be the league champions. That was the position here. We weren't confirmed as the champions of the league section going into this final game. Tom was playing Jack Work the Space, and Jack ended up winning. He beat Tom, and we ended up winning 5-1 against Ches. Even though Hakimi was so dumb and got himself sent off in the 82nd minute here, we won 5-1. Lukaku 2, Osimhen, another 2 for him. Mbappe with the other one. Hakimi got himself banned for 3 games going into the knockout. In the last game of the league season, with 8 minutes to go, it was so unnecessary, but I mean, in the end, I guess it didn't really matter, because by the time Hakimi was back from his suspension, we'd already gone through anyway, so it wasn't the end of the world in the end, but I was angry with him at the time anyway. And that took us to this being the final table of the league campaign. We won it on 16 points, Tom in second, Lalujo in third, ultimately the champion. At the bottom 2, we had Zealand and second yellow card on 7 points apiece. Dr. Benji, by the way, he had 1 win all through the competition. It was the very final game. He beat Zealand. He put Zealand into the elimination game. He was able to stay away from it. It was a really dramatic final day with us winning the league, with Ben managing to escape the elimination. Really interesting end to the competition, but really, really competitive league season. Probably the best that, at least the best I've been involved with. It may well be the best that actually has existed ever in this competition. And you see some of the stats here straight away. Victor Osimhen ended up being the top goal scorer in the competition, although some of those goals were scored in the knockouts too. Going back to our schedule, we then went through it where we would play Zealand. Zealand knocked out second yellow card in the elimination game in extra time. A really good game between those two. We played Zealand away from home first. So if you finish higher in the league, you have the better seeding, which means that you play your home games in the second leg of the knockout games. We played away from home first. We lost 2-0. Zealand was really good in this game. We couldn't get anything going. It was 2-0. We were trying to keep it at 1 because we literally conceded in the first minute, as you see here from Neymar. We were trying to keep it at 1. He ended up scoring the second, and we were like, right, that is it. If any more goals go in here, we could be out. We didn't concede any more, and we knew that if we played well in the second leg, if we scored goals, which we've been doing pretty comfortably during the league campaign, we still had a chance, but it was a slim chance. But we ended up winning 6-2. Victor Osimhen got another hat-trick here. Lukaku got another 2. Varane got 1. You see, there's set pieces involved in that too. Tapsoba also scored an own goal in this game, but we won't talk about that. I think it's one of the best games of Football Manager I've ever played. And I don't say that lightly. It was the most tactical battle, back and forth, pausing here, change something, see what he changes, so we change something. He sees that we've changed, so he changed. It was back and forth, back and forth. There's about 7 minutes at the end of this game, which in-game 7 minutes, which they must have taken 20 minutes. It was so intense. So sweaty, but it was so enjoyable too. I mean, I was so relieved to come out as the winner at the end of it. In fact, Victor Osimhen scored from his own half, I'm pretty sure, in this game, where Z had sent his keeper up accidentally at the end of the game to try and get a goal as he went to very attack, and we ended up sealing it with that last goal. Brilliant win, and it took us through to the semi-finals where we would play Work the Space. Jack, who had obviously done his homework here because he got himself a 2-1 win at his home stadium in the home leg for him. Sadio Mane scoring late to make it 2-1. Lukaku had given us the lead from a penalty. In fact, in this game, there are 2 penalty misses from Mohamed Salah. Handanovic saving both. We got away with it here. We also did score a penalty ourselves in this game. Mike Dean decided to just take things into his own hands and do whatever he wanted during this game. We got away with it because it was only a 2-1 loss. Meaning, just like the Zealand game, we would know that if we won our game at home, we'd be able to go through. And my word, did we only just do it. We scored an 88th minute penalty. Another penalty. I'm not sure that this was Mike Dean, but another penalty in this tie. Alexander Kolarov, 88th minute to score the winner to take us through after we had the lead from Osimhen. Castrovilli equalised. With 1 half to go, we needed 2 goals and we just about got them. Mbappe and Kolarov. Kolarov, by the way, one of our star performers. He ended up getting the most assists in the competition. Long throws, corners too, free kicks too, but also lots of open play assists from Kolarov too. And this late goal from him from the penalty spot meant that we went through to the final where we would play Kevy 5 times, well 4 times at the time. Lalujo, and he threw everything at us, 21 shots compared to our 12. A much better XG from him. He probably deserved to win this game, I won't lie to you. We also had 10 men for the last half an hour. Eric Polga, who was on as a sub, got himself sent off immediately. And we just hung on, completely hanging on. And I was so relieved to get away from this with a draw. Lukaku with the equaliser for us. A nothing second half, really. Just keeping them to odd shots from everywhere. But keeping the score down. A 1-1 draw. And I was confident going into this second leg in the final, do you know? I was confident. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. It was almost ours to lose, especially with that massive home advantage which we see, which got us a 6-2 win against Zealand. This was really ours to lose. And, I mean, unfortunately, we did lose it. It went all the way to penalties. And we lost it on penalties. I mean, there was lots of penalties as well. At one point, it looked like we were going to win the penalties because Rashford missed, and then Mbappe missed, then Belotti missed. Kev actually missed his 2 first penalties in this. And then we decided that actually, after Tapsoba and Maddison scored, Victor Osimhen, the top goal scorer in the whole competition, missed his penalty. Grealish, Stones, Romagnoli scoring for Lalujo. Kolarov, Traore scoring for us, and then Rodri at the end. Probably one of our worst performers over the whole competition, missing the final penalty. Kev gave it everything. We gave it everything. I guess Kev had the better XG here as well, but we gave it everything. I mean, we probably missed a lot of chances in this game too. Victor Osimhen missed chances. You see by the average ratings, we just didn't really perform. And we lost it on penalties. And I think we were pretty unlucky, really. Let's just have a look at our squad and how they performed. Now, if you've watched the other video, you know what the plan was. It was all about having tall, fast, big, strong players. And we had those. That's why we scored so many from set pieces. That's why we could just launch the ball forward, get our players to dribble with it, to run with it and score goals. And if I just look at these stats here, you can see Tapsoba got 3. Varane got 5 goals. You see that Zagadou got 1, Kolarov got 1 goal, but 10 assists. There's the set pieces. You get a really good set piece taker like Kolarov, who can whip in a free kick with 18, or his corners are 16. He was excellent for us. 10 assists, and also that goal from the penalty spot too in 13 games. Our worst performer, if I click on him here, was probably Rodri. A 6.53 from him in the midfield. Didn't really contribute anything. I mean, the role he was playing didn't really mean that he was supposed to, but still disappointing overall. You see Mbappe got 5 goals. Osimhen, 13 and 13 from him. Probably out, well, he was our star performer. And then alongside him was Lukaku, who also got himself 8 goals, which was not bad at all. Not much in way of contributions from the bench players, especially the likes of Polga. A few of these did play quite a bit of football. Klossman got 3 starts here and 4 off the bench. You can see Adama Traore came off the bench 10 times during the competition. He was our main sub. He actually scored the equaliser in the final to take us to pens. He was probably the main sub. Lots of these other players didn't play too much, but in fact, everybody got game time except for the goalkeeper, the backup goalkeeper, Kepa. So you see that we did use our squad. We did have suspensions. We were okay on injuries. We did use both of our lemon wipes, which is where you get to wipe away your injuries. during the competition. So a quick look then at the tactic, which you can kind of see here. It's a bit like a 5-2-3, but with one of these attackers, one of these strikers drop down to this right wing position here. You see that we started Mbappe here with the idea that he would get the ball, he would dribble with it, he would cause defence all kinds of issues. Then you've got these two strikers slightly higher up. This pressing forward here kind of plays kind of wide himself. That's kind of what, if you play wide pressing forwards, they kind of drift out wide and push out wide anyway. You've got these two midfielders in the middle, three big, strong, fast defenders who are going to hopefully mop up everything. That's why we could go a little bit cheaper on the likes of Zagadou and Tapsoba, because they're big, strong and tall, and because there's three of them, you can get away with playing them, and they did a great job overall, really. In fact, this back three, I think, were imperious throughout the whole thing, and I would probably not swap any of them, to be honest. Kolarov, you saw how many assists he got. Hakimi was a big, big disappointment, actually. If you have a look at his profile, you see that he's all about pace and crossing, and yet he didn't really do either of those things. He got a 6.78 average rating, and that was after being banned for 3 games as well, because he actually got a red card. He was a disappointment. Rodri was a disappointment. Luis Alberto was solid, but without being unbelievable. The front three were all great. The back three were great. Handanovic was excellent, by the way. A 7.49 over the course of the whole competition. Probably one of the better goalies in the whole competition. He saved lots of penalties too. It's just a shame he didn't save a bit more in the final. The ideal behind the squad as well was that we have backup players for all of these. James Maddison could come in for Luis Alberto. You could do Rodri for Polga. Polga was suspended, so he's all the way down here. In fact, I can put him back up. You had like Klosterman could go right back. Adama could come in. Can you see that the idea was that actually each of these positions, each of these players would have a like-for-like replacement that you could bring in if you needed to, with perhaps the exception of centre-back. But because Ben Davies can cover centre-back and we've got 3 of them, it was a little bit less needed. Also, Kolarov can play centre-back too. But everybody had a backup, because in this type of competition, you're going to need all of your players. And like I said before, we did use all of our players except for Kepa, our sub-keeper. This was the primary tactic, which we didn't change too much. In fact, towards the end of the competition, what I did find myself doing quite often was pushing this right-hand side winger up into a second pressing forward, alongside Lukaku on the other side. Usually it was Mbappe, and then actually that was really useful in getting behind the defences and changing it slightly, because people begin to prepare for your shape. If you use the same tactic throughout a competition like this, people are going to do their homework. People are going to prepare. I remember playing, it was against Jacko at the space, and he would just have so many people on that side. Zealand did the same. He just dropped one of his midfielders into this defensive midfield spot to cover Mbappe on this side. So we needed to think about that too. We pushed up our right winger into a striker too, to hopefully then overwhelm on that sort of position. And yeah, you need to be adapting. And this is kind of what we ended up adapting with. Also against teams like Zealand and Kev, as you saw in that away game in the final. So we ended up using this. It's called the Showdown Shutdown, which is a much lower tempo version of the tactic. You see that most of the roles are pretty similar. Instead of this striker being up here, we do give it a little bit more balance by having this other winger over here. Usually it was either Osimhen who could come and play on this side, or actually most of the time we usually put Adama Traore over on this side and play Kylian Mbappe over on this side, and it would probably be Osimhen in the middle because of his form and he was so useful. It usually look a little bit more like this, which again, it kind of worked. It slowed things down. It was just a slight variant of what we were using. Of course, with this back three, sometimes I'd also make these just pure wing backs rather than complete wing backs to give a little bit more defensive solidity. But you can see having variants of your tactic is also vitally important in a tournament like this, and we used it because in the final, in that away leg, we used this. We got ourselves a draw. If only we could have used this again to go and get that win in the second leg, it would have been a masterclass. It just wasn't to be this time around. So that was it. We lost in the final to Kev, but if we just have a look at some of the statistics that actually came out from the tournament overall, you can get a really good idea about how the different teams play. You can see that actually we were second lowest in terms of possession. We weren't interested in having the ball. When we got the ball, we wanted to knock it forward as quick as we could, get it to those fast lads that we've got up front and try and score goals. We had 47% of possession. You can see also by choosing all these big tall players, we won the most headers in the whole competition. We scored the most goals with 37, 5 more goals than anybody else. We conceded the second least too, so we were great going forward, and with those 3 central defenders, we were really strong defensively too. We had the highest expected goals by almost 5. We had the highest expected goals for by more than 5 compared to everybody else, so we were most likely to score the most goals. We created the best chances you could probably take from that. We had the most penalties too, which is again, I think, to do with those having those fast strikers which have good dribbling. When they've got the ball in those tight areas, those defenders, they lunge in. We won the penalties. We had 3 of them. We actually scored all 3 of them. It's quite ironic, really, that we then went and lost the whole competition on a penalty shootout, but that's just the way things go, really. We scored the third most goals from corners. You see that we were effective from these. Lelujo had the most. Lots of those in the knockouts as well. We did score 6, though, which is a lot more. There's 3 teams there. 3 of the 4 semi-finalists, you can see, actually, with the most goals from corners. So it's smart to go down that route. We created the most clear-cut chances with 11. We had the most shots with 239, 19 more than second place team Lelujo. We had the most shots on target, loads more, about 20 more than the second team, which was Jack. Most shots per game with 17. 17 shots per game is a lot of shots, let me tell you that. We had the most fouls against, again, having those quick players. They draw the fouls. That was a deliberate thing that we had in place. We had the most dribbles, 57. We also completed the most clearances. Like I said, we weren't interested in trying to keep the ball. If we could get the ball away from our goal, we had the fast, tall, strong players to be able to wrestle back that possession and then try and get into attacking positions, which was the whole idea. And I mean, those stats, you can see how the tactics, the system, it worked. We just got so unlucky at the end with the penalty loss, but fully deserved by Kev. Yeah, I mean, you don't win 5 of these without fully deserving them. It was fully deserved by him. We couldn't beat him. We played him 3 times. We drew with him 3 times if you count that final game too with the penalty loss in it. I think it was a really fun tournament though. I really, really enjoyed taking part, as I do every single time. Let's hope one day, one of these tournaments, we can go one step further. We've now done. We won the league, got to the semis, lost on penalties. We won the league this time, got to the final, lost on penalties. I mean, we've got to go one step further next time, right? Let's hope so. Next time we're in one of these, we're going to go and try and win it. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this little rundown, this little overview of the competition, then please do drop a like on the video. It helps with all of the things to do with YouTube videos. Also, leave me some comments. Who were you most impressed with? What did you like about our system? Any questions you might have, I can try and answer, but leave me some comments down below too. And of course, subscribe to the channel. There's more videos coming up very soon. I've been working on a new series, which will be starting in the next couple of days after this video, so keep an eye out for that. If you want to make sure you see it, subscribe, turn the notifications on, and you can be there for that. But yeah, we'll leave it at that for today. Thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye-bye.